Ethan had spent years working tirelessly to achieve the comfort he had in his backyard. His private pool was more than just an indulgence. It was a representation of his hard-earned success. It was a place for him to relax after exhausting workdays, host weekend barbecues, and get away from the stresses of the world. Every inch of it was his, paid for with his own savings, built to his specifications. But none of this mattered to his insufferable neighbor, Vera. Since Ethan moved into the quiet neighborhood, Vera had made it clear she didn't think someone like him belonged there. At first, she'd been passive, throwing fake smiles, asking intrusive questions about how he could afford such a nice place, and making sarcastic remarks about how the neighborhood had lost its charm. But as soon as she realized Ethan wasn't going to tolerate her nonsense, she turned up the heat. At first, it was just petty annoyances. She would drop her inflatable toys into his yard by accident, or wave at him with an exaggerated grin while strolling along the fence. But soon, she began to cross boundaries. Ethan would go outside to find Vera lounging by his pool, sipping iced tea as if it were her own. When he'd ask her to leave, she would respond with a dismissive huff, insisting that neighbors should share everything. Things escalated when Vera started calling the police, multiple times for trivial reasons. She once told them Ethan was acting suspicious on his own property. Another time, she claimed he was hosting wild, illegal parties when he was just having a few friends over for a cookout. Each time, the police arrived, and Ethan had to explain that he was simply enjoying his own space. The officers, though clearly annoyed, couldn't do much except issue warnings to Vera. But it didn't stop there. Vera began to harass Ethan's guests. If Ethan had people over, she'd march right into his yard uninvited and demand that they lower the volume on music that was barely even loud. She made snide comments and once even threatened to call security because she felt unsafe, even though they were just chatting casually. Ethan tried everything to get her to stop. He built a taller fence, but Vera found ways around it. He calmly confronted her, explaining that she was violating his privacy, but she just laughed in his face. He even consulted a lawyer about getting a restraining order, but because she hadn't made direct threats, the process was painstakingly slow. No matter what Ethan did, Vera always found a way to insert herself into his life. Though a patient man, Ethan had reached his breaking point. He had given Vera plenty of chances to stop, had been reasonable and fair, but she made it clear she would never stop unless forced. After months of dealing with her intrusive behavior, Ethan was ready to make a stand. Ethan wasn't one for drama, but he knew it was time for action. He reinforced his fence, building an even higher one and installing a heavy-duty lock. He set up cameras around the property to document everything, ensuring there would be undeniable evidence if Vera dared to trespass again. He even added motion detection alarms near the pool. If Vera so much as stepped foot into his yard, the whole neighborhood would hear about it. For a while, it seemed to work. The pool was no longer a target. No more random floats appeared in his yard. No smug Vera lounging around. Ethan allowed himself to believe, even for just a moment, that she had finally gotten the message. But then, one Saturday afternoon, he stepped outside to find her in the pool once more. Not just dipping her toes in, but fully floating on a raft, sipping a drink like she was at an exclusive resort. She even wore sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat, looking completely at ease. When she saw Ethan, she didn't flinch. Instead, she gave him a lazy smile and said, "Don't mind me. Just cooling off. It's really hot today." Ethan's fists clenched, but he didn't respond with anger. He had learned long ago that arguing with Vera was pointless. Instead, he took in the situation. She had scaled his new fence, carried drinks onto his property, and was now mocking him. "Vera, get out of my pool," he said calmly, his voice even. She waved a hand dismissively, still floating with ease. "Oh, relax. It's just a pool. You should be happy to have such a popular spot." Ethan's patience was wearing thin. "You're trespassing," he said more firmly. Vera tilted her head back in mock exhaustion. "You're always so uptight about this. I could sue you for harassment, you know." That was the final straw. Ethan knew she would never stop. She would keep pushing, keep violating his space, and keep twisting the law to suit her. But this time, Ethan had a different plan, a plan that would make sure Vera never stepped foot in his pool again. He took a deep breath, forcing a smile as he stepped closer to the pool. Vera, smug in her belief that she had won, floated on, unaware of the trap being set. "You know what, Vera?" he said, his tone light and almost friendly. "Maybe you're right. I've been too uptight about this whole pool thing." Vera raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, finally seeing things my way, huh?" she asked, sipping from her drink. "Something like that," Ethan replied. "Tell you what, since you're clearly enjoying yourself, let me bring you another drink." "On the house." Vera smirked, not questioning his sudden change of attitude. She assumed her antics had finally worn him down. Ethan went inside, giving himself a moment to calm down. He grabbed a fresh drink, extra strong, before making a quick phone call. "Hey, do me a favor. Can you bring a cement truck over? I'm remodeling my pool." His friend on the other end laughed. "Took you long enough. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Ethan stepped outside again, handing Vera the drink. She took it without hesitation, still lounging like she owned the place. Ethan pretended to relax, all while keeping an eye on the time. Vera was completely unaware as Ethan reached behind him and turned a hidden valve near the edge of the pool. Slowly, the water level began to drop. It was subtle at first, barely noticeable against the movement of Vera's raft. She continued to sip her drink, blissfully oblivious. Minutes passed, and then the rumble of a truck echoed in the distance. Ethan stretched casually. "Well, enjoy it while you can," he said lightly. "This pool's getting a big makeover today." Vera lazily opened one eye. "What does that mean?" she asked. Ethan gestured toward the gate as the cement truck backed into the driveway. The sight should have caused alarm bells to ring in Vera's mind, but she was too comfortable, too convinced that Ethan was just all talk. The driver, a longtime friend of Ethan's, hopped out and walked over. "You sure about this?" he asked in a low voice. Ethan nodded. "Yep, just like we talked about." The cement truck tilted its chute, and thick gray concrete began pouring into the shallow end of the pool. At first, Vera didn't realize what was happening. But as the raft sank lower and her foot brushed against something solid, she froze. "What the heck?" she muttered, sitting up. As the realization hit her, she scrambled, trying to get off the raft. The cement was already spreading, and it was too late. "What is this?" Vera demanded, her voice panicking. Ethan leaned against the fence, unfazed. "Just some pool renovations. You've been enjoying it so much, I figured I'd give it a permanent upgrade." Vera's face went white as she saw the cement surrounding her. "You're filling the pool with cement?" "Yep," Ethan replied calmly. "And since you liked it so much, I thought you'd want to be part of the remodel." Panic spread across Vera's face as she tried to move, but the cement had already stuck to her legs. "Ethan, this isn't funny," she screamed, struggling to escape. Ethan sighed. "I tried being polite, setting boundaries, calling the cops. But you wouldn't listen. So now I had to get creative." Vera's efforts to free herself grew frantic as the cement hardened. "You're crazy. I'll sue you." Ethan smirked. "For what?" "Remodeling my property." Vera was stuck up to her waist now, her arms flailing. "You can't leave me like this." Ethan shrugged. "Relax. You won't sink any further. In a few hours, I'll call someone to get you out." With that, he walked back inside, leaving her seething. Neighbors gathered, pulling out their phones, some even laughing. A reporter arrived, turning the absurd situation into breaking news. By the time rescue crews arrived, Vera's reputation was ruined, and her harassment days were over. Ethan relaxed on his new stone patio, savoring the peace he'd fought for. Justice had been served and set in stone.